Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the BB-Scho. As always, I'm your host, Beebs, joined by my co-host, Chen. We got a lot to talk about week 6 recaps. We're coming up on the halfway point of the year, which means next week is our half season's award show where we will pick our winners of half a season's worth of MVP, Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, etc. Before we dive into anything football related, Chen, how you doing today, man? Almost butchered that one.
That's all right. It's all right. Doing well, man. Doing well. I haven't hit the old Uno reverse in a while, so I'm gonna do the old magic. Kick it back to you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Had a had a nice Sunday actually. I did well in our picks. I'm in a pool league as well. I have a frustrating situation that I might need to just get off my chest real quick in that pool league. So sneak peek to the end of the episode. I'm 11-2 and you are 9-4 going into Monday Night Football.
Okay.
So we both had good weeks. But
Yeah.
in the pool league, so the only reason I'm 11-2 is because I have a rule that I don't pick the Packers. In the pool league, I'm 12-1. And I don't know if you've ever done a pool league, but you rate your confidence of like 16 and down. So if there's 16 games, like you rate 16, you get 16 points for the one you rate 16th most confident. Does that make sense? I said that kind
Yeah.
of backwards, but the one you're most confident in, you put the higher numbers for. So then
Okay.
you score points on the ones you think are locks. So through 12, 13 games, I have 126 points, and the max is 133, I believe. Which means I got one wrong, and it's the Broncos who I had four confidence on, and I have the Jets tonight for three confidence. I'm only winning by 3 points. There is somebody who is 13-0 who thankfully has the Bills tonight as their 10 confidence pick. So if the Jets win, I'm good and I win the week and I get the payout. But I'm just very frustrated. I went back and looked. We both have already set the record for scoring without using a certain game. And for reference, there's only 13 games this week. The other weeks have more points to gain because there's 16 points or 16 games. So
Holy cow.
yeah, if I miss the payout because I lost out on 7 points, you're not gonna want to see me tomorrow morning. I'm not gonna be happy. But
Okay.
other than that, had a good Sunday. Finished sort of strong with the Bengals holding up there into the bargain on Sunday Night Football. We'll get to that, but
Yeah, yeah.
we can dive in. Um, First on the docket this week. This was kind of the unofficial but also official game of the week. I think everybody was kind of hyped for the noon window Commanders Ravens game. Two
Mm.
hot teams coming in. Ravens started 0-2. I think they're won four straight now. Obviously, we've talked about the Commanders plenty. But your thoughts on this game, 30-23 final. Baltimore wins by a touchdown at home.
And not to do like the whole LeBron James thing here, where I woke up and just knew he was going for 80. But this was kind of a game script that I anticipated, where the Ravens were going to be in front most of the time, um, just be that dominant regular season team that they are. It's not that the Commanders looked bad, but at a certain point, like they had to start punting. You know what I mean? Like eventually Cliff Kingsbury is great on offense. He's not going to be perfect. For them to only lose to 7 to the Ravens at this point in the season, I would say is a win for the Commanders as well. Like I really think both teams walked away with this with like the Ravens. All right, they're going to be probably the top class team in the AFC, but the Commanders actually look to me way ahead of schedule that I think anybody, even their own fans, could have anticipated. Um, I mean, we'll probably talk a little bit more about the Cowboys, but especially what we're seeing around the NFC East. I said
Looking
it a couple
looking
weeks
promising.
ago. Yeah, I mean, people were fighting on me at work saying, oh, Eagles are still there, Cowboys. Commanders are really separating themselves, even in a loss. It's like you can just see the greatness and the poise with Jalen Daniels. Is there anything to add from those takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, one thing, and not to, you say LeBron picking the future. I feel like I'm the guy always beating a dead horse, but the Commanders' leading rusher in this game was Jaden Daniels with 6 carries for 22 yards. Um,
Gonna get it done.
And then you flip the other side of the box score, and you have Derrick Henry with 24 carries for 132 yards. He's averaging like 2 more yards a carry. He obviously has a ton more. Lamar himself has 40 yards rushing. So you have 170 team rushing yards. It just leaps off the page as why the Ravens are finding so much success week in and week out. Is you have I I said this last week and I mean it. This could go down as one of the better free agency signings of all time. You took a guy who most people had written off as washed, overused, and it wasn't to his fault. It was more so people would say like, "Oh, the Titans gave him the ball too much, like he's just out of juice." And he's approaching the RB cliff age, like he's actually already over 27, I believe. So you took a guy who was washed and put him in a system that who was washed, I should say, with quotes. Um,
Yeah.
put him in a system that pairs him next to a completely different style of runner. And then also runs the ball, has been running the ball the best in the league consistently for like 5 years now because of Lamar. And you're putting a traditional running back into that system, which is something they haven't had. And it's completely just brutalizing defenses. And I don't even want to like get into the schemes of it. I don't even know if I were a DC how I would begin to approach stopping the Ravens run game, especially when you spend all week trying to figure it out, and then Zay Flowers has 120 receiving yards in the first half. I mean, I don't even know. I genuinely, on paper, don't know how you stop this offense. It's a genuine you can't stop them. You just have to try and contain them and outscore them situation here. I genuinely like. I cannot think of a personnel or a defensive unit that has a chance of stopping them this year other than maybe the Chiefs because they're the Chiefs. And I mean, Chris Jones is a game wrecker at that point. He can help you, but I don't think he's enough. You'd have to go. Teams that come to mind are teams that could stop the run with like five guys in the box. And I would go like '07 Giants is like a team that comes to my mind because their D line was just like that good across the board. But I cannot think of, can you think of any D lines that are that good across the board
Oh,
this year? I mean, you know,
not that is going to stop. I mean, for me, look, I mean, I'll just say like it is. If you had said 3 years ago, he put Derrick Henry like at the level he was, and we'll call it in his prime, and Lamar on the same team. I mean, that's a Madden team right there. That's like the best mobile quarterback with the best running back combo. It's almost like a why didn't they do this sooner type of
well,
thing? And we're
yeah,
really seeing the results of it now. Like it's you either have to sell out to stop Derrick Henry on the inside, and then on the flip side of it, if Lamar beats you outside, he's able to throw now. This isn't like a young Lamar where he was inconsistent at times at the pass. They haven't established Zay Flowers. I think I said earlier in the season that the Eagles were like a more dangerous, I guess, due to their personnel, had more weapons than the Ravens. And it's kind of looking like the reverse at the moment. It's the Eagles at their best, I think, could look like the Ravens do right now, where I mean, I don't know how you stop this team. You just really hope that, I don't know, somebody fumbles, they get a bad
yeah.
snap.
Well,
Like,
and I'll put it this way too. Like you're going against a really good team that runs the football. What's like common sense defensive strategy, right? You're gonna probably go man on the outside and put an extra guy in the box. Okay, you can do that against the Ravens. The people did it against or I should say against Derrick Henry. Okay, people did
yeah.
it against Derrick Henry all the time. And when the Titans had AJ Brown, that's why they were so good is because they had a guy who could go win the one-on-one matchups. And then they went to the AFC title game. They never got over the hump, but it was pretty unstoppable from that sense of like, you have to give and take. And if you're taking away Derrick Henry, you're giving AJ Brown and you're basically saying Tannehill beat me, right? Here's the problem with football one-on-one against the Ravens and Derrick Henry is what is the number one thing you don't do when you're playing against a running quarterback? You can't go man coverage because it turns everybody's heads away from him. And if he breaks the pocket, he's going to run for days, i.e., Joe Burrow last night on a 50-yard touch. Joe Burrow, 50-yard touchdown run. Now, he actually looked fast on that play. That's the fastest I've ever seen him look. And to me, that play stood out to me because he gets put in this Brady like conversation. I was like, Brady is not getting in right there. He's maybe even a young Brady's not getting in. But we'll get to
Right.
that game. You get my point. That's what man coverage looks like. Nobody's doing that again, going cover zero against like that against Lamar,
Hmm.
right? So now
No,
you're stuck.
absolutely. Yeah.
You put 8 in the box and then go zone. Well, that's like cover three. That's your options.
Hmm.
Like that, you know.
What's your opinion on Zay Flowers? Because I mean, for me personally, I was actually very impressed last season, just like as a rookie, what he was doing. But um, I mean, if he sets himself up as I don't want to say Tyreek Hill, but that Escalade can take the top off of defense, that's a problem. Because I'm not saying we're talking Kansas City with Derrick Henry, but imagine. I mean, you have a three-headed monster that at all three levels you can just kind of score consistently. It's pick your poison. I really would love to see a game
So
plan that you
yeah,
can stop this with.
that's a great point and a great question. To me, right now, Zay falls in this like Devonta Smith. He reminds me of Devonta Smith's skill set a little bit. I think he's a little quicker. He's not. He is a guy who can take the top off the defense. He's not like Tyreek. No, I guess nobody's like Tyreek Hill, but he's not like a traditional like Marquez Valdez Scantling comes to mind of like guys that you have on the roster just so that they can take the top off the defense, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
he's a,
yeah. Do a little bit more for you. Keep it
yeah,
relevant.
he can do more. I don't think he's as big of a burner as those that stereotype as well, which isn't a bad thing. Where Zay shines to me is he's this guy who for the first time ever, like for 5 years, for 4 years, when or I guess 3 years when Lamar was starting, we would always say they have to find they have no receivers, right? He's throwing to like Duvernay, Devin Duvernay, Rashad Bateman, and they continually started drafting receivers in the first 2, 3 rounds. And would just miss Bateman, Duvernay. I mean, I named two of like they would likely didn't pan out, although he's having a better year. Like certain picks that they would make, and it's like, okay, dude, everybody else and their mother is picking a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson, a Marvin Harrison Jr., guys who come in and contribute. And you guys can't hit on this pick. It's not a good. They signed Odell, right? They did all of these things to try and fix their receiver room. And finally, I think they took Zay Flowers, and Zay is developing into a guy who can be their go-to guy on third and long. He can win a one-on-one matchup, and he's gonna get a lot of one-on-one matchups with that box. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's where he's excelling, and he's probably a perfect fit for the system because not only can he win one-on-one matchups, he is very good in the short stuff, which is the RP. I mean, now you're mixing in RPOs. You can just rip him a bubble. He had a 50-yard, 60-yarder on on the first snap of the game or something like that, and it was a freaking bubble screen, or it wasn't it was a tunnel screen, and it's like, dude, this offense is coming together. I mean, should even Mark Andrews finally got involved. Like we're
Yeah.
like and they had a great day. And here's the reality is they had a good day. But I think it comes more so back to like I don't even know where now that they have a Zay Flowers fits the AJ Brown role perfect. Does that answer your question? He's a guy who can win on the outside. He's not the
Yeah.
jump ball guy that AJ Brown is, but he can win pretty at a good clip. If he's not going against the top corner in the league, he's going to win most of the time.
Oh yeah.
So
More just yeah, looking for the like he's an established one. Kind of like what you're talking about, like they were missing for years on with like the Rashad Bateman, man, they have two more names. I think there's probably guys I'm thinking of, but they weren't hitting, and it feels like this is kind of the guy that all right, you might have got our one here, and I think that's really all you need for this team is just one good receiver.
yeah, and so it's I think I've made my point. Like I don't even know where you would begin to stop this offense on paper. The Derrick Henry thing has just transformed it. It was one thing when it was a great running game with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Now it's like, oh, Derrick Henry's back there. And by the way, Derrick Henry isn't even needed if he like the whole concern about Derrick Henry's legs and he's rushing the ball 35 times a game in Tennessee. Like the Titans could not run the ball if Derrick Henry wasn't on the field.
Yeah.
The Ravens can run the ball if they wanted to, give Derrick Henry a couple plays off and rest his legs for next week because they have Lamar. They have Justice Hill's having a nice year. Like it's 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 so perfectly set up. I mean, it's out of, like you said, it's out of Madden.
Yeah. Yeah. Well
Your
done.
thoughts? I mean, do you have any thoughts on the Commanders? I mean, I think you kind of touched on it as well, but to me, the problem that leaps off the page is exactly where I started. Is like Brian Robinson was injured, and then your next guy is Eckler. Talk about a guy who doesn't have any juice. Like
Yeah.
sucks for. I actually like Austin Eckler, but that sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I think Commanders are still in a good spot though, even with the loss. Or
Oh,
I just, yeah,
they're in a great spot. I think you hit the nail on the head. I've got nothing to add to that. You go into Baltimore, lose by a touchdown against when Lamar throws for 320 and Derrick Henry rushes for 130.
yeah,
Like
you're doing
you
all right.
you're doing all right. Yeah. All right, that takes us to Cardinals, Packers. And we've actually done a decent job this year of not talking about the Packers too much. So I put it on the script because and more so like, and we can pivot into kind of NFC North discussion as well as we, because I don't know if there's much to talk about with this game, but it seems to be a
Yeah,
hot
cool.
topic. But your thoughts, your immediate reaction, 34-13, Packers win at home in the rain.
They just kind of did what they were supposed to do. Good teams getting it done on home. Cardinals still haven't really figured out what they are. To me, they look great, but it's also they're not like a super talented team. I don't think they were anticipating to compete for anything this year. The Packers just I don't have a whole lot to say yet. I think I still need to just kind of see more, especially from like Jordan Love, just more of a like we still haven't gotten a total 17 game sample size from this man yet, right? Because or did I mean I guess he played all of last season or most of it,
I think he played
but
like 15 games or something like that last year.
yeah, so we
But
might
I
have
think
just
you
hit
could,
17.
to me, you could make an argument you don't have a full 17 game sample size of him playing at this level. Like he hit some I remember it was like Thanksgiving maybe last
Yeah,
year, or maybe right before that when we played the Chiefs. And he hit a switch and he's been at that switch since. And I don't know if you have a full 17 game sample size of that level. Because
right.
he kind of stunk. Like everybody, Bears fans kind of rag him and stuff, but he did kind of stink for the first half of last year. But then
Yeah.
he turned it on, and it was like, oh, okay, he's statistically top five in every category. But go on.
Oh no, no. It's I think it's just a confidence thing for him now. He's just getting more established in that QB1 role. So yeah, I would say from the Packers end of things, they're also just like right on schedule. I don't have any concerns with them yet. More for like the NFC North side of things because the Lions are going to be a problem. That was expected this year. What I did not expect was the entire division to be a problem. When you look at it, it was, I believe it was either in the NFC or the entire NFL, the best point differentials for teams all lie in the NFC North. I believe it's like Lions are at like plus 67 for the year, Vikings are at plus 63, which for those of you fans of the show, I've used this stat previously to allude at the foreshadowing of the Vikings back then. Hey, even though they're 13 and 0, they're negative in the point differential, probably not that good. And then they lost the Giants in the first round. But this
What a
season,
headline, man. That was such a fun
yeah,
season.
yeah, great, great, just great season. But this is a year where it's like, okay, looking on paper, the stats, looking on our TV screens, the NFC North all around is good. And I guess I'll just throw you right in hot seat. Put the microphone, turn the lights on. How many of these teams make it to the playoffs?
Is the line over under? Where's the over under?
Over under 2.5.
Over.
Okay.
Easily.
Okay.
Easily. I thought you were gonna say 3.5, and
Oh God.
I think there's
I think
actually, I've seen some traction of a conversation. Um,
get
I
in.
think for math reasons, I think three teams are in, yes. I think the Bears are out at this point. Solely based off of we haven't seen enough yet, and their four wins are all against two win or less teams, I believe, or
Yeah.
like one win or less teams. Like they have not beaten anybody of power. And I'm not saying that anybody in the NFC North has. Like if I had to take a guess, the Bears are out. They look good. Like I'm not gonna like rag them, but they have not. I'm very excited for interdivisional play to start this week with Vikings Lions. Like I'm very very excited. And it's one of those things like I think three teams are in. And even if the Packers are out, like I do think the Bears could get in. Like that's where I'm at is like who else is Michael, I'll flip it back to you. Who else is out there as a non-division winner in the NFC.
I mean, like immediately it comes to mind, like Falcons, Buccaneers. I don't know, more so like Saints were there now, not so much. But like I think of those two teams, like Buccaneers, Falcons, one's gonna get the division. I think one of them's probably gonna get a wild card just because of their schedule.
That'd be
NFC
it.
East wise, though, like you could sell me that just Commanders get in. Like we already talked about how hard of a schedule the Cowboys have. Eagles have been just kind of weird as of late. 49ers, and then like Seattle is like the only teams that really come to mind with West. I see it. Like I see the vision. It's definitely not improper, impossible. I just do think it's a little improbable given, like we said, the unknowns of the Bears. And even with the Vikings, like they're good, man, but it's like
Well,
with the Jets, I always have this thing in the back of my mind, like they do this all the time. Like they're gonna do it in the right.
probability would say that one of these four teams is going to fall off or at least slow down. My guess is the Bears, but I could be wrong. It could be the Vikings. It could be the Packers. It could be the Lions. I mean, they just lost their best two pass rushers. So,
Probably won't
it,
be the Packers.
the NFC North at this point, and for the first time like ever, it feels like for my entire life we've been saying the NFC North is the toughest division of football.
Mm,
For the first time ever, that seems to be like a nationally accepted like truth at this point. You have three, 4 win teams, four or more win teams through 6 weeks. I mean, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
yeah,
And one of those teams has 2 wins with their backup quarterback. Like, it's you know to resort a little bit back towards the Cardinals game. You said there's not much you have to add. Like you want to see more out of the offense, etc. I want to just give a shout out to the defense, leading the league in takeaways, had three forced
mm,
fumbles and in this game, continuing to dominate the turnover battles, and the turnover battle is what is winning us games. I mean, it's we could easily be 5-1 if we don't turn the ball over against the Eagles
very
on
good.
offense. I think that I really think that the offense is rolling, and it goes back to it's a different version of the Ravens discussion because there are ways that you could slow down this offense, but it's incredibly hard to slow down an offense that it's like I don't even know. It's like they're like the San Antonio Spurs of the NFL. It's like, oh, Jordan Love throws 4 touchdowns, 250 yards, 22 of 32. Okay. Who's he throwing to? We don't have a receiver. Jaden Reed has 6 catches for just 28 yards, right? Then you got Watson catches a long one. Dobbs catches a long one. One was a crazy jump ball. Last week Tucker Kraft had 170 yards or whatever it was. And this week he has 2 for 13. Like, how do you game plan for that? And then on the flip side, you've got Josh Jacobs averaged 18 for 62, 3.5 a carry. And then Emmanuel Wilson comes in, goes 7 for 54, 7.7 yards a carry. How do you stop that? And then the Packers love to do this thing. Chris Brooks has 4 carries. Bo Melton has 2 carries. Tucker Kraft has a carry. Jaden Reed has a carry. Like it is this the San Antonio Spurs is the best way to define it. And to me, what's leaping off the page, how this is how the offense was on the back half of last year. What to me, like
Mm,
I started this point, is what's leaping off the page in difference from last year is the defense is just taking the ball away like crazy. It's something as a Packers fan I've just never seen in my life is a defense that is winning you football games paired with an offense that's rolling. Usually it's like defense is this crutch that the offense has to just carry over the finish line.
yeah.
Or if you go back to maybe even I would even say 2010, it was the defense was carrying everybody over the finish line. That's not the case right now. That's not the case. The offense is playing well and the defense is playing well. Now it's early in the year. I get that. And the Cardinals, like you said, I don't really know who they are at this point. I don't think they know who they are. I think they're worse than I thought they'd be, but they're also then I think 2-4 through 6 games. That's probably exactly where I would have put them. Do you have any thoughts on the Cardinals moving forward?
No, eh, they're probably like 6-11, 7-10. Um, they got pieces, but it's like probably at least two off seasons worth of work away. Um,
I think that their defense to me, which is weird because they hired what's his face? He's a defensive guy, right?
yeah, Shane
Um,
Gaiman,
yeah, and he came in and boosted up the defense at the end of last year, but their defense to me, just personnel wise, is just like not.
there's nobody really there. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're still
it's
kind of rebuilding, and Kyler's not on like the best contract. I mean, it's the standard kind of elite market level deal.
I got
But
something for you. Nicer ice. Nicer
okay.
ice. Kyler Murray is a bust.
Nah, I'm gonna say that's ice. Just because he's already bet in my eyes, like he's better than Trevor Lawrence, and like I feel like Trevor Lawrence is viewed as like a bust. He's just in an awful organization. Like most players, it's the only organization that deducts like food out of players' salaries and stuff, like from their own cafeteria. Like,
Are you
if
serious? The Cardinals do that?
dude, look at so if here's and for every listener out there, I feel like this went under the radar. It was a report card grades, and it's a Bleacher Report article, and it's pretty extensive on like some of the bad teams. Like I guess the Ravens had terrible trainers, and then you look at their IRs the past couple seasons, and you're like, huh. You know what? They had the leading IR list those past. That makes sense that they had an F in training. And then you look at the Cardinals, and that was one of the highlights of like players. Like anytime they go to the cafeteria, you get charged for food. The owner, I guess, is just very brash and abrasive, hard to work for. Yeah, it was pretty odd. Like
No
it's the
way.
NFL
I mean,
Players
this is like
Association
that.
came out with it.
I think I saw that study. I did not catch that the Cardinals charge their players for the peanut butter and jellies. It's probably better than that, but they
Yeah,
charge their players for the Gatorade bottle that they grab on the way to meetings.
it's insanity. It's insanity when you really like break it down. Like you talk
Dude, I
about
play.
corporate
Hold on.
greed.
I played at a small Division 1 school and we didn't pay for that. I mean, what are we
Yeah,
doing?
you
What are
just
we?
don't.
What? This is out of Moneyball. This is like he's at the trade deadline. He's like, oh, one more thing. I want you to pay for my guy's soda for 3 years. Right into the trade. Like, what are we doing?
We get
Like,
we get free Gatorades over at a place of work where I'm at, man. We
in
work
this,
in production.
honestly, like, if it were 2005, okay, whatever. Like, okay. But it's 2024, dude. Like everything you're doing is to attract free agents to your team. Like straight up. Like if you
Yeah.
people do not want to play for your team, you're not going to be successful. That is so telling to me.
It
Seriously,
should
I
say a
can't believe.
lot considering it's a team in Arizona too, and you still don't want to play there. Like that's a pretty nice spot if you have a lot of
Oh, yeah,
money.
they got a nice stadium, nice facilities. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It's all just management, man. That's 80%. It's just a workforce thing of these people leave jobs. It's no secret for the NFL players is too. It's why quarterbacks fail, is poor management. But
I
anyway,
got into
yeah.
yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
got
no.
into a conversation the other day with some Bears fans kind of about ownership and
Oh
how the Packers have by far the best setup. And they actually agreed with me. I
yeah,
was like, that's why we're successful, like consistently, right? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, we don't have an owner like Jerry Jones or who says, oh, I want to play, or the guy in Cleveland, I want to play Deshaun Watson, like, and I'll
yeah.
play him. Like, no, everybody gets vetted and is basically held by their merit and their decision making. And if they're poor, like they just get fired. And they're just the president of team operations. Like it's and
Love
they
it.
like the bear. You can see the Bears. They're like, oh, it'd be really nice if we didn't have the freaking Hallis family. The son who was not supposed to get the team has the team or some dog. I don't even remember how that got handed down, but
Right, right.
um,
No, that's take from our model, man. And one
it's
last Packer stat for the day because I just got to get it out there. The 2010 defense vibes. Just we are the only team in the NFL right now that has multiple takeaways in every game so far this season. And considering that we've lost two of them and we had multiple takeaways in those games, that's telling me we're still playing sloppy and there's still a lot of room to improve. So we're going to lead the NFL in takeaways like we did in 2010. Things are going to be good, very good in type of town. Just to put
yeah.
it that way.
No, that I mean, people don't realize like you turn the ball, you win the turnover battle, you win like 80% of your games. Like it's the most
Mhm.
simple stat in football, but like as any coach will say this at any level, like, hey, if we win the turnover battle, we're probably going to win the game. Like there's another stat out there. It's like if you block a punt, you win like 87% of the time. Like it's just like stupid stats that, you know, have crazy correlation to winning. But it's
Yeah.
actually like if you coach that way and it's like, hey, we block this punt, there's an 87% chance we're gonna win the game. Like it's not false. Like
Right, right. No, it gives you a leg up for sure.
um all right, we're gonna pivot, we talked about Eagles a little bit. We've got Eagles Browns this week. We talked about the Eagles slightly, kind of their struggles. Um Your thoughts on this game? We talked about the Deshaun Watson. I kind of want to have a small Deshaun Watson discussion as well. Browns are 1-5 through 6 weeks. Eagles are 3-2. They win by 4 here. You can start on either side of this game. What are your thoughts on your reactions?
Oh yeah. So oof, Browns, man. I feel like we've been here before in the sense of what do you do? I mean, like honest question as a general manager, if you just walk into that office today, you're giving the Browns payroll, what we know. What's your first move as a GM? Like, what do you do? Let's say the off season started. The Browns finish 4-13, 5-12. Or what we anticipate them to be. What are you doing? Because I believe Watson's got like 2 or 3 more years of guaranteed money left. So let's just say that's off the table.
I,
You
I
don't know?
mean, no, yeah, I thought you were
Sorry,
asking a
I don't know.
rhetorical question.
No, I'm
I
curious.
don't. Yeah, what am I doing if I'm the GM or the coach?
I would say GM because I think Stefanski's doing all he can, but and the owners kind of got him tied to Watson. So it's like, all right, we have
Here's
money we
okay.
can shove.
If
We
I'm
got
the
Mr.
GM,
Cooper. Yeah.
here's my reply to that. Assuming the owner is not involved in this Watson decision making process. If I'm the GM, I think I'm resigning for not re-signing Joe Flacco. That's a genuine like I I cannot believe they let him out of the building. I
That
can't.
is, yeah.
This is a guy that won. Did they not win a playoff game or whatever his run was last year? Clearly elevated your offense to another level. And it's like he would have been cheap to keep as a backup. Deshaun was okay last year. He's worse this year. He was okay. Now he's probably the worst quarterback in football. I cannot believe they did not invest. If I'm a GM, I'm investing in a backup quarterback. At some level, I'm making a trade. I'm signing somebody, and I'm trying to find a way. I might be calling Tom. Like I'm trying to find a way to get cheap value out of that position so we can get that guy off the field because I don't know if there's a player more responsible for their team's record than Deshaun Watson. I genuinely like the defense is not playing at the extremely high level it was, but do you know how hard it is to win games when I mean, let's go through their scores, shall we? 16 points here, 13 points, 16 points, 15 points, 18 points in a win, and 17 points. I mean, they haven't scored 20 points all year. How do you expect to win games if you can't score 20 points? Like, their offense is
Yeah.
awful. It's awful.
That really eats at a locker room because people are human. All right. At the end of the day, this isn't like Madden where players are all just lined up they're all in the locker room interacting. Everybody's well aware of Sean Watson's history, how much money he's sucking out of the team. I think and you can see it on the sidelines, and even reports coming out when they asked him to run the ball and get more involved with his legs, saying no because he wants to protect himself. He wants to make sure he can collect his bag and get his money. And it shows. I believe the announcers they were saying some stat. He was like, he's 11 for 11. Looks like Sean Watson's. It's not figuring anything out. It's just like Russell Wilson of last year, where you'll take the completions, but you'll eat sacks. You'll just check it down. You're not looking to make plays. You're just clocking in and clocking out. I'm just gonna call it what it
That
is. You're
is,
clocking in
yeah.
and clocking out as a quarterback, and people can see it. people are mad that they're seeing it. And like you said, the Browns defense is not on an elite level, but even if it was, this offense is just it's a joke, which is crazy considering how much they forked over for this guy.
I think that to me, what is, and we actually asked the question a couple weeks ago. We were like, "What happened to Deshaun Watson? What's going on?" I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think that this guy was a young kid who loved the game, was developing. He was watching film. He was passionate. He loved it, and he was getting better and playing at a high level.
Hmm.
And he got hit with this slew of lawsuits, cases, accusations, etc. And in my opinion, probably got done dirty by Texans management, as did multiple other people who have discussed, that
Very true.
situation. And they ship him off. And I think that if I had to take just a psychological guess, that probably zapped away his like passion for the game. I'm gonna like that's what at this point in hindsight, like that's to me what likely happened. Is he just that whole era happened, truth or not, it doesn't even matter. It just exhausted him of his desire to get better and his passion for the game. And like you said, I think now he's at a point he's like, all right, well, I played good enough when I was younger. I've got this contract. I'm probably not going to get another one of
Yeah.
this magnitude. Let me just stay healthy, zap this money, and set my kids up for their future and probably retire. Because that to me is that's the most logical explanation for the insane downfall in play. Is he just
In
doesn't
play,
care.
yeah. Yeah, you
Like
don't
he
see them or him running around. You don't see trying to extend plays. It's just very lifeless. It's very bland. And it's not like the Browns have a lack of weapons. It's just fundamentally bland quarterback play. Um, and it's hard because even like we say, it's not going to get a big contract again, but he's probably going to get another contract. Like he's probably going to end up in like that RG3 role where he's just going to hang around his backup and still
here's the
keep
question
nice.
then.
It's yeah,
Nicer ice. If he nicer ice, Deshaun Watson could have a career renaissance if he changes his situation. Situation meaning contract, location, team, environment, etc.
yeah. I would say nice, but like somebody have to be bought in, but like because we've seen worse players come back from worse injuries or situations and turn around. Um, he's got all the talent. I think it really might be a mentality thing. Like you said, training, whether the allegations are true or not, um, to be ridiculed. I mean, every day still. You're mentally you're not focused on football anymore. It's definitely showing. The work life balance is definitely bleeding over. Um,
Well,
he
I
might
mean,
just
even
start.
like as recent as last week, he got like another lawsuit filed and dismissed, and he has to deal with that. Like, I think
Yeah,
you hit that. Like, he has not been, and cannot probably ever return to like focusing on football.
it'd be a good place for him to go though. Clear his mind, kind of just get away. Would be Dolphins.
They're not going to take him. Do you know what
Just
their
saying.
quarterback payroll would be if they traded for
Oh yeah, that's
Watson?
true. They already got former Pro Bowler Snoop Huntley on the roster, so
I mean,
it's
I actually think Tua's going to return relatively soon at this point. That seems to be what's happening out in
okay.
Miami. I heard like week 8, week 9. But the reality is like if you're the Browns, you can't trade this guy. Who in their right mind is going to trade for this guy?
Yeah, I mean, you would have to probably sacrifice picks
To yeah, to
to
dump
get.
him off. Like
Yeah.
I saw a rumor floating around. It was like Deshaun and a Browns first was like the deal they're trying to shop around. And it's like you gave up
Oh,
picks to get this guy, and nobody's even taking it because it's just like what in what world does he help a team? If a team takes that trade, they're basically accepting however long is left on that contract. Like we're not winning a Super Bowl for 3 years.
yeah. And you're just putting a hole in your salary
I
cap.
think I
Tough
think they need to
situation, man.
I think they need to cut him and just like eat the dead money, like straight up.
What the Broncos did.
Yeah, I mean, I
Fresh start.
it's
It's almost
just
better to get
for a
out of your locker
cultural, it's
room.
just cultural
Yeah.
reset. The only thing I'll say is this: is I'm interested to see Chubb is coming back the next 2 weeks. Is he going to give this offense a spark? Likely, yes, but he also could not be the same guy.
Yeah. And I even think of on the offense had Chubb, man. They like it, Amari Cooper came alive with Joe Flacco. Like having Amari Cooper when Joe Flacco was throwing the ball as fantasy owner was like the best thing in the world. Now, not so much. And I don't see that changing as long as he's under center, which is unfortunate. But
Yeah.
we
Well,
can
and they're not
pivot.
running. Yeah, they're not running the ball well either. Like they're
No,
like, and
yeah, I
that's
thought
what
I
they.
expected more out of Jerome Ford.
Yeah, he tweaked his hammy. We talked about Eagles. We can pivot. All right, we brought up this as well, but how should I angle myself in the camera? Just checking checking to see if they still them boys.
It's like
just,
peeking over the
just peeking over your thoughts on Lions, Cowboys, 47-9 scoregami.
scoregami, man. At least that was something we got from this game that we didn't already know. Um, yeah, Cowboys were like already in playoff form, melting down at home. On Jerry Jones' 82nd birthday too is just classic. And even the play calling, maybe this is the only critique I'll have with the Lions is they should have saved some of those plays. I
No,
get,
no. I think this is the
here we go.
game.
Yeah,
I think this is the game that they wanted a big guy to score a touchdown and they spent the whole off season having. I, look,
I hear that. I hear
I
that
think
something.
that Dan Campbell is a motivational mastermind and basically said for however long in the offseason, but especially this week, this is the team they did you wrong last year, blah blah blah,
Okay,
and
okay.
they're going back to Dallas to do this, and yeah, yeah. Go ahead though.
It's not about the play calling. See, it's about the message.
Yes. No.
And I
Yes.
understand that. I can get behind that. You sacrifice the surprise factor for the overall morale and message for your team. And with what Dan Campbell's about, I definitely see where you're coming from. Um, they just look so. It's kind of insane because when he got hired, I remember in that coaching cycle, he was like memes, bro. Like I remember, I don't know if everybody remember like the Twitter memes of like white kneecaps and like, oh, like here the Lions go again. And even that first season, he was in the hot seat for year two. And I remember watching Hard Knocks, like, yeah, this guy's kind of on to something. Give him a chance. Not trying to be the LeBron guy here, like, oh, I sauce. But there was like, he's not this awful coach. He can at least motivate guys. And I mean, you're seeing it. The Lions are they're unstoppable right now, man. And kudos to Jared Goff. Well, I mean, I really thought he was the problem with the Rams, but I just think he didn't work well with McVay for whatever reason. I don't know, just maybe
What
that
do you
class.
mean? They went to a Super Bowl. Like it's just
But then they put up 3 points, and then after that, it was nothing. I mean, it was
they got
good until it
Belichicked,
was.
man. They got
Yeah, it was like
Belichicked.
good until it wasn't. So I hear that. But yeah, good for the Lions. Terrible for the Cowboys. What are your thoughts? I'm curious.
That's you know what,
Cowboys
man.
are dead. I'll say it. I mean, nice or ice, and I'll take every bit of nice. That like they're dead as a doornail
You stole
before
you stole my thunder. I was about to just ass. I
just
was just about to
crap
go.
all over them.
I mean, dude, what are we doing? Rico Dowdle, 5 carries, 25 yards. And
Oh.
oh, by the way, we're sacrificing the run game this year. We're going to rely on Dak a little more. We got CD. We can play our game, do our thing. We've got a strong defense, leads the league, touchdowns last year, interception leaders last year. We've got Michael Parsons, great pass rush. Yeah, you guys suck. Can't stop the run. Everybody goes into Dallas and runs over everybody. I mean, it's a joke. That run defense is a joke. I mean, it's like out of middle school football. Like every single team goes in there and runs right down their freaking throats. I can't believe Pittsburgh lost to this team. I'm going to give Pittsburgh a pass because that game started at 2 a.m. basically. But
I know.
it's this team, they can't stop the run. They couldn't stop a freaking nosebleed, dude. You talk about like a cliche saying, yeah, this is that team, that defense. Oh, and by the way, your $1 million, multi-million dollar or 10, $40 million quarter, whatever Dak gets paid, 17 completions, 178 yards, and 2 interceptions in a game that you were behind the whole time. You were behind all that you were throwing all game.
Thanks. It's
I
usually
don't
when he thrives.
I
Yeah.
don't even know. I bet on CeeDee Lamb to hit his over, and he did. I don't even know how he did that. Honest to God, because this offense is a joke. I mean, looking and then you pull up the Lions stats, and it's like, dude, David Montgomery 2 touchdowns, Jared Goff 3 touchdowns. I mean, who didn't score? This defense is Oprah. It's like that skit with that high school kid. He's got 22 excuses, 12, 11 on offense, 11. Our defensive coordinator's like, Oprah, you get a touchdown. You get like that's
Yeah.
freaking damn funny.
Cowboys right now.
That's Mike Zimmer at this point, which I'm
Oof.
sure Jake is laughing because
It's
he
a hard
knows.
cover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been knowing about just the Zimmer fraud. This is just there's so many issues with this, and they just re-signed Dak to a big deal, and it's like they are nicer ice. Cowboys are closer to a rebuild than they are to a
Boy,
playoff berth.
I would say closer to rebuild right now, given the state of the, sorry for the video viewers and the fucking at the
We
moment.
got a visitor here. Oh my gosh.
Trinity is currently photobombing. But I would say, sorry, what was the question?
Nicer ice. Cowboys are closer to a rebuild than a playoff berth.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna have to say rebuild, man. So that's a nice take for me because you have to blow it up. I just don't know how they're gonna do it properly. And the Jerry Jones doesn't do that. Um,
Here's a question. What assets do they have to blow it up?
man, and like you wouldn't. It's like they have their couple stars, and that's it.
I
Like
would
the
love to be like,
roster.
oh, they need to draft a rookie quarterback to replace Dak. And it's like, I know I just went on him. He's not the issue here.
No, yeah, like if you get Shader, that's cool and all, and it sells tickets, but you're not changing the outcome. The issue is
The
the
trenches.
rest of the roster.
It's the
Uh,
trenches. It's the trenches on both sides of the
yeah,
ball.
yeah, but we have both sides of the trenches. You don't have a running game. They don't really have an identity other than just trying to throw it and get it to CeeDee Lamb as much as possible. And it just doesn't work, man. The Lions
Here's the
tried to
problem
make
with
strides back years.
here's the problem with the Cowboys is this is what they do, man. And now they're gonna pay, oh man, maybe they won't. Oh my gosh. Oh, we did go through the Cowboys schedule like
Their
three
schedule,
times.
how it's brutal. Yeah, they're
Oh
probably not
yeah.
getting that's
Yeah,
this
they
is
play the
not a good sign.
Niners, Falcons, Eagles, Texans, Commanders. That's their
That's
next
the first
five.
time. Yeah, they played the Commanders twice.
Oh my gosh, they might not win another game. They got the Panthers on the schedule. Panthers and the Giants are on the schedule.
There's
They
a get
might.
right game. But even the Lions
Oh,
or
get
the
a get
Giants, they
right game
probably
on November 28th and like week 15. Yeah, get right game at 3-9. Dude.
years. Yeah, right. The
No,
ship.
here's what the Cowboys are gonna do. They're gonna pick off one of these. They're gonna beat the Eagles or somebody, and we're gonna be like, oh, no. And then they're gonna play the Falcons tight or play the Texans tight. I don't they're bad, man. They're just bad. They're a bad football team. I don't know what else to say.
No, that they're bad. There's no. It's hard like to go anything beyond that. But that's all that was. Like 47-9, no hope on any side of the ball. You're a bad football team. It's just hate to be Skip Bayless right now.
Oh man, you'd love to be Stephen A. All right, that takes us into Sunday night football. We briefly brought up Joe Burrow's scramble for a touchdown earlier. Bengals move to 2-4. Giants fall to 2-4. Your takeaways. Your
I don't
takeaways
have too
before I
much.
say something. Your takeaways before I say something delusional.
Yeah, it's I'm really curious to see where your head's at. Um, it's the saying, lightning doesn't strike twice. I feel like this might be the Bengals. I don't want to say the downfall of them, but I would be shocked if they miss, and that might be a hot take right now.
You would
Um,
be
I,
shocked if they miss?
I think they're going to miss the playoffs this year.
Oh. That's not a hot take. They were 1-4. I mean, that's a
I just
problem.
don't
Like,
given what we've said on this show and the run we anticipate them going on all the time, that I don't the rest of the league is too deep right now, and they just have not been getting it done. Like I thought against the Commanders, they were going to kill them, and they lost the Commanders, and then I thought they were going to kill the Giants, and then they just kind of scraped by. So, curious to hear your thoughts, but yeah, I'm really not too sold on the Bengals at all at the moment. I'd say I'm actually probably pushing the panic button.
wow. Oh.
Yeah,
They win the game and you're pushing the panic button.
yeah, I know
They
that's
cover this,
crazy.
they cover the spread and you're pushing the panic button.
I am.
That is
My issue lies in they're an offense like heavy team, and they're just not. It's just not
okay.
there.
All right, we're about
They're just not
this
there.
is gonna be a fun
That
20
spark
minutes.
is just not there, man.
This is gonna be a fun. Wow. I think you just changed my stance in the moment because I have to step up and defend something
The
that
Bengals.
I
Do you think
partially
they're a better
agreed.
team offensively this year than last year? Yes or no?
Well, Joe Burrow's on the field, so yes, he missed like
Well,
nine
okay,
games.
but aside from like no Joe Mixon,
I think they missed Joe
you,
Mixon. I think they missed Joe
yeah, you
Mixon.
have it. You're right, right. I think that's like the big one.
I don't think they missed Tyler Boyd. I think Chase Brown is getting better every week. He's a young, like I think he's a rookie or a second year guy. He needs to take over the backfield from Zach Moss. Like, and that kind of happened last night. I'm interested to see when the snap share percentage comes out if it's not already out yet.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Chase Brown needs to be the guy, and they need to just give him the reps to continue getting better because there's clearly a spark there. That touchdown at the end was a great run. XYZ. I think that there's a few. I'll start with the problems with the Bengals. Okay, I think they're poorly coached. Any team that basically plays every game close is poorly coached.
Hmm.
However, that's what I would say at the college or the high school level. Sometimes I feel like fans, when we see scores like the Lions winning 47-9 and XYZ, sometimes we forget that the NFL is the NFL. And when you go on the road on Sunday Night Football, cover the spread and win by 10, your defense holds the Giants to 7 points. I don't see how that's not an uptick for your stock. Okay. The number one concern has been the defense. And I'm not saying the Giants are some superstar offensive. I mean, they're not by any means a good offensive football team. They are, however, a decent defensive football team. I mean, they've been balling defense. Dexter Lawrence is having a year. Their pass rush is good. The Giants, in my opinion, my takeaway from this game, the Giants are better than I thought they were. That's my takeaway here, especially defensively. They've got their problems at quarterback, but I think their roster is finally at a point where you could actually say they might just be a good quarterback away. I think we're actually finally at that
Okay.
point.
Yeah. Okay. So see, this is the difference. This is where what you're saying. What I'm hearing is you're calling the Giants closer to the Bengals level. And what I'm telling you and the rest of the world is the Bengals are closer to the Giants level
Well,
in the sense that,
here's my question though. What is
yeah,
the Giants level? They lost by 3 to the Commanders. They beat the Seahawks on the road last week. Like I that's my
it's
point. That's my point.
it's fringy playoff team at best in the NFC. And then when I look over at the AFC, how deep it is,
Okay,
I'm
well
not
nobody on this side of the screen is denying the improbability of making the playoffs at 1-4.
yeah.
Nobody over here is denying the mountain that we have to climb.
And I just think that it's going to cause issues down the road. We already bring up coaching, we bring up they need to find a run game. You got the Jamar Chase already issues. Like I I just don't love what I'm seeing, man. I don't love it.
Here's what I'll say.
I,
Here's what
I
I'll
would
say.
start to panic. I think I'm
Here's what
justified saying
here
that.
here's what I'll say. Okay, should they have beat the Patriots in week 1? Absolutely. Like no doubt about it. They should have that's the worst loss on the schedule. Okay, you
Mhm.
lose by 1 to the Chiefs in Arrowhead in week 2. Then you lose to the Commanders, who we are learning is a very, very good football team, on the last drive of the game. Then you handle business against the Panthers. You lose in overtime on a botch snap to the Ravens, who we
Yeah.
just spent 25 minutes talking about might be the best team in football. You go on the road on Sunday Night Football, cover the spread, take care of business. Oh, and by the way, your defense has their best game of the year. What was our number one concern going into the week? We need to find a defense. The defense needs to get in a groove. The offense will figure itself out. So what? The offense didn't score 30 points. It won by 10. It won by 10. I don't. A win is a win, man. Like we got from a coach's mindset, we got to take things that look good, build on them, and go. We cannot when you're 1-4, you cannot dwell on what is going wrong. You got to find the
No,
positives, step forward. Okay, we're 2-4, one step down. Now let's get to 3-4 this week against the Browns, who are in the worst state they could possibly be in right now. If they lose against the Browns, I'm not even taking the time to find the panic button. I'm getting in the car and crashing into a tree. Like we are in a
yeah,
playoff. We are in playoff mode. You get to 3-4, you can have a discussion. Okay, we could afford to drop a game. Sure, if you want to have it. But the reality is like took care of business. Now you got to go into Cleveland next week, win. Okay. The rest of their schedule, the wins are there. They're there. We've gone over this. Like we don't need to go over it again. But I do agree the offense needs to play better. But I think that we are cover the spread. Like I cover the spread in the NFL. It's the NFL. Like it's a road game in the NFL on prime time.
I'll give you that. I'll give
Like
you
I
that.
don't
Like
care about style.
a tick to like on their paper stock, yes. But from what I'm seeing with my eyes and
That's
just
fair. That's fair. I just
watching
don't
what
care about
we're
style points at this point. Like you're 1-4. Who
oh no
cares?
no 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 it's the lack of the ground game and especially in how heavy you got how successful like the Ravens just were the Chargers behind like the Jim Harbaugh style play. They I think are going to run into issues closing teams out. And when we talk about their poor coaching already, keeping games close for no reason, it's going to bite them.
I mean, like I said,
I just,
poorly
yeah.
coached teams play down or play up with whoever they're playing with.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a poorly coached team does, or a poorly led team.
Right.
And the reality is like, should they have handled business? Yes. Like I expected it to be a larger margin of victory, or at least more offense. But you gotta like, you gotta like, they won by 10 in the NFL. Like that's not, if the score was 27-17, are you having a different opinion? Like I think you
Yeah,
are.
I think I would have a different opinion of like, all right, the Giants aren't like, I don't think the Giants stock for me was boosted at all by this. Them only getting a
I don't I
touchdown just
shouldn't
confirmed
say
that
I
they're
shouldn't say
bad.
I shouldn't say
Um,
that their stock boosted this year. I think they had no Malik Neighbors. Dexter Lawrence and that defense has been kind of hooping with the pass rush. They went into Seattle last week and won. Like I think that I was just happy to see like that's a team that's well coached, I guess is my point. And
fair
the
enough.
roster is awful. The Giants, this Daniel Jones era just never seems to end.
And I don't know why.
You
In a
know,
world where we give so many guys such a short leash, like think about it. Like Trey Lance never got a shot. Justin Fields during all this time, Daniel Jones has just had a job. Like what a we do, and actually got a pretty big payday during the midst of it. So I don't know. NFL coaching and just the way GMs view talent is weird to me. Um, but I digress. We got one more game on the docket.
we do. We got to talk. Well, we can briefly talk Jaguars Bears. We kind of said we weren't going to talk about the Bears
Okay.
because we
Yeah.
talked about them last week. But all right, nice or ice, Doug Peterson makes it to the end of the regular season.
Ice. No way. No way, right? They have to go. They have to try somebody else before the end of the regular season.
So there was a
Things
quote
are
that came out
bad right
this.
now.
Did
Yeah.
you see the viral tweet that or the viral quote from Doug Peterson after the game?
No, no, I
He
didn't see it.
apparently said something. He's like, we are in dire need, or we really need a culture change, if we're gonna have any success." And everybody was quoting like, "Dog, you are the culture change. You
Yeah,
getting fired will be the culture change."
yeah, that's like when people are like, "Hey, we need hurricane relief support," and the president's like, "Come on, Americans, let's fund hurricane relief." I digress.
The Jaguars, like, it just feels like this year is such a regression to the mean of, like, what was it, 2 years ago? You had the Jaguars and the Browns in the playoffs, and we were like, wow, this feels great. Like, yeah, sure, the Lions are like really good, but like the
Hmm.
Lions are good and they're legit, and then all these other teams that are historically awful seem to be like regressing to the mean here. Like 1-5 Jaguars, 1-5 Browns. You can make an argument 1-4 Bengals. Like
Jets maybe tonight.
you can
See,
argue about the Jets. Like you just, it feels like we're home a little bit.
we're
Um,
back.
yeah, we are back. The Jaguars and Browns are bad. We're back. The earth is healing. Um, but you're yeah, he needs to get fired. It sucks because I think he's actually a decent coach, but he's evidently not.
Hmm.
Like I
So,
don't know what else. And it's one of those things too. Like Trevor Lawrence gets all this blame. They dropped like three touchdowns in this game. There were like three touchdown drops. Like
yeah.
at what point do we just look at it and we say, okay, this is a team that Dearness Johnson is your leading rusher, and you have Tank Bixby and Travis Etienne on your roster? How is that possible?
Can I explain what I think happened, Doug Peterson, in the most understandable terms?
Of
Is
course.
he is probably like in terms of coaches ranking like 15, 14 mode, like very average NFL coach. And Trevor Lawrence's first year had Urban Meyer, who, all due respect to the college game, but should have never even gotten an NFL job. Um, Going from that to just an average coach, I think gave him that 9-8. They overperformed a bit, improvement to where I was like, oh, Doug Peterson is like really good. And that probably made him look a little bit better than he was to the point
He
where
was good in
now
Philly though. Mean, he got fired in
I
Philly.
would,
He got fired in Philly, and I was like, why are they firing? It was like 2 years removed from the Super Bowl win. It was like, why are they firing him?
and I think maybe because it's that roster in Philly, I would say was always good. But like, I more so think like like it was if you had to point the finger of them losing after that Super Bowl, like wouldn't it probably have been at who else would I mean I don't know. In
Oh
my
no,
eyes, I think it
he
probably
got
been Doug
fired before
Peterson.
they won. No, when they won the Super Bowl, he got fired 2 years after they won the Super Bowl. Like a
Right.
year, 3 years after. Like he was not on the staff when they lost the Super Bowl. That was Sirianni.
Oh no, I'm just saying like when they were like because that second season that was like that year when like Carson Wentz was bad, things were kind of melting down. Um, I think they just had to make a change. I don't know.
I just feel like I don't know.
Fair. That's fair. I can see it because it's like he is a Super Bowl winning coach, so it's like you can't take too much away from that. I mean, he outcoached Belichick in the Super
No,
Bowl.
yeah, and he made an immediate impact in Jacksonville. Like I don't think I agree with what you're saying, like 15, 16. I'd probably put him 12, 13, maybe even 11, but if we actually like went down the line of guys that I'd want. But like my question to you then is like, okay, and I don't disagree there need of a dire culture shift, and that probably comes from firing Doug Peterson. But
Yeah.
who do you hire?
Oh, that is a great question. Who would I hire? James Josh McCown.
Oh gosh.
No, no. There's what there's a former player, younger mind. I mean,
I mean,
we
can you
say
get Ben Johnson off the Lions, or is he?
I mean, he wanted to stay just to run it back this year, but I think like if they win a Super Bowl, knock on wood, um, maybe you get him to leave. But I think if they go work for like a young creative offensive mind, they have plenty of weapons. I think Evan Ingram, like with creative play calling, could be very interesting. That's just my opinion. Travis Etienne. They have plenty. I still don't know why they're as bad as they are. Still, even with like Doug Peterson, even if he was a bad coach, they shouldn't be losing this many games.
I don't disagree. I wouldn't be shocked if you see the Jaguars pick up like
Bill
do they
Belichick,
do they play in London again next week? God,
they
that
do.
sucks, dude. Is there like some deal there? I feel like they play there every year, like
I
twice. Like,
would not be shocked if they move there.
really? Is that a thing?
Because, all right, so like Shad Khan is like the owner, and like his son Tony Khan is like also, I believe, partial ownership. And Tony Khan owns AEW, which is a competitor to WWE. Where I'm going with this is AEW does a lot of international shows, and like their biggest promotion is always in London. It's in Wembley. It's like AEW's all in events, and they sell like they have a lot of ties and a good
How
relationship
would
there.
okay,
So it would
here's a
make sense to move. You would get a lot more revenue just having a team in London than you would competing with the Buccaneers and Dolphins in Florida, especially with college football. For a business move, it actually does make sense. So that's why the Jags always have 3 to 4 London games on the schedule now. I think they're going to try and move the team like as soon as possible.
how does a London team even work for the NFL? Like a full-time London team
Jeez,
even
I don't
work?
know. I feel like
Because
that's why I got to work it out.
what division do you put them in? Like I don't even know. I don't
I
even
mean, they
know.
make it work with the Raptors in Canada. It's just
That's
completely,
completely different. That is
yeah. And even
completely
it would
different.
be so tough with
That's
like,
flying over a river, not the Atlantic Ocean.
right. Well, and even for like scheduling, like say they play a Sunday game and then they have a Thursday night game, and you're coming from London over to any team,
You would just have to
like,
not do that. Like you would just have to basically say like
yeah, then the schedule.
if I were setting up the NFL schedule with a London football team, I don't even know if they're in a division. Like I don't know how you would make that work. They're gonna have to be, but you're gonna have
Yeah.
to do that.
You add them, I mean, you get 33. So I could
But the
see for the
way
time being like,
you're gonna have to make it work is a team like they have like 4 week stretches in America, and then they have a 4 week stretch in London, and then they have a 4 week stretch in America, and they have like they don't go like home road, home road. They go road, 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 home, 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 home. And it's like I don't know how else, even if it's back to back, like maybe it's just 2 week stretches. I don't know how else you would like do that. And then you have another problem. How are you ever attracting, like if I'm a free agent, why on earth would I ever sign up for that? Do you know the tax issues,
oh,
the citizenship
man.
issues, all of the stuff that would come with that, let alone the travel and the family? Like, oh, hey, I play in the NFL. Play for the London team. My family lives over there. I spent half the year in America anyways. Oh, and then in the off season, I just come back to America. Like that would be awful. Why would
Right.
you want to do that?
No, it's terrible. The only way I could see it working is if you like, I don't see how you can find that actually. How? You can
No.
pay guys enough money. Even with
If you
because
have
guys
here's
hated the bubble for COVID. I mean, even for a season, 3 to 4 months being away is a very long time. That's tough.
I don't know how you would do it. I don't know
Yeah.
how we would ever attract top for you'd have to draft exponentially well, and then you'd have to use the drafting well to create a culture that would actually like, hey, I'll go sacrifice it because we're gonna be in the playoffs.
Curious
Right?
on Jaguars players' thoughts on it now, though. The fact they're playing, like, they probably feel like they're at a disadvantage. They're like, why are we in London more than any other team? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're losing home games. Well,
Yeah, I'd be mad. I'd be like, dude, why we gotta keep coming over here?
yeah, I wouldn't I I don't know what the long-term plan is with the London stuff. Everybody talks about moving a team over there. It's just a logistical nightmare, and that's kind of a tangent. But all right, nicer ice. Jaguars fired Doug Peterson in the next 4 weeks.
Nice. I think it does that. It might be on that fourth week, but I think they have like another meltdown that kind of pushes.
I'm gonna try and do this again. I did it with Matt Rule. I'm gonna try this again.
Yeah, here we go.
I got their schedule pulled up. They play the Patriots this week in London. If they lose,
That seat's hot.
if they lose, I think they fire him then after the next game if they go to 1-7. Okay. If they beat the Patriots, which is possible.
Yep.
He makes it to 2-8. Okay. They go Patriots, Packers, Jaguar, or they go Patriots, Packers, Eagles. I don't see a world in which he makes it past the Eagles if they lose two of those three games.
Yeah. And that, especially like losing to the Eagles, man, that just might be just,
That's a primetime game as well. Just so you know.
nah,
But the Eagles game, that's why I'm putting a hard stop on the week. What is that? Week 7, 8, 9, on week 9. Hard stop. He doesn't make it to week 10. Like,
yeah. I could see it going longer for whatever reason if they just keep playing.
well, do you want
I
me to
think
read the rest of their schedule? It's a, I mean, they might not win
bad.
another football game. They go Patriots, which is their most winnable game, Packers, Eagles, Vikings, Lions, Texans,
Yeah,
Titans,
yeah,
Jets, Raiders, Titans, Colts. So it eases up at the end. But this schedule to me screams we're going to fire him at some point and then we're going to hire an interim head coach and he's going to pick off, the Titans twice or the Jets. And then, oh, maybe this is our guy. It's, oh man. But anyways,
nightmare.
yeah, it's not looking good. I'm putting a stop. I'm kind of gambling, but he ain't getting past week 9.
Okay, okay, I see it.
All right, that takes us to our week 7 predictions. As I said earlier in the pod, I am 11-2 through 13 games. You are 9-4. I have Bills tonight. You have Jets. However, in my pool league, I have the Jets, so I'm probably going to be pulling for the Jets for financial reasons.
Need vintage A
But
Rod.
yeah, Thursday night football. Broncos go to New Orleans.
Saints have Spencer Rattler playing, so I'm gonna go with the Broncos here.
I'm kind of 50-50 on this one because Rattler looked good, but I'm going to go Broncos as well just because you get a rookie quarterback on tape, he's going to start getting worse. Like that's usually how it goes.
Right.
Patriots playing the Jaguars.
Jags, because it's kind of home field advantage.
I'm not taking the Jaguars under. They're on a no pick list at this point. You
Fair
get blown
enough.
out. You get blown out by the Bears. You're on the no pick list, man.
Yeah, yeah. They'll be on the
Lions go to Minnesota.
Lions.
I'm going to pick the Lions as well. I find it
Mm.
hard. I find it hard to pick against. They're on an always pick list.
Yeah, they just looked so
Titans.
good last week.
Titans go to Buffalo.
Bills,
Dolphins go to Indianapolis.
Colts.
Yep, I agree with both of you on those. Sorry, I didn't even say, I didn't
Oh
even
yeah, the
say who I
Bills.
was picking
Bills
for the
made
Bills.
sense, and then Joe Flacco for the win.
Seahawks go to Atlanta.
Ooh, I'm gonna say the Falcons.
I will not pick against the Falcons at home. That seems to be one of the stronger home field advantages this year in football. Texans go to the Packers.
Packers.
Taking the Texans as usual. Bengals go to Cleveland.
Browns.
Taking the Bengals.
Hmm.
Eagles go to the Giants.
Eagles.
I will also take the Eagles. Raiders go to the Rams.
I'll take the Rams.
Hmm. I think there's a chance that Cooper Kupp maybe plays.
With or
I'm gonna,
without, I'm taking Rams.
uh, yeah, I'll take the Rams. The Raiders just seem dysfunctional. We haven't talked about them yet. We gotta have that conversation. Panthers go to the Commanders.
Commanders.
Yes, sir. Chiefs, 49ers in San Francisco.
Ooh, I'll take the 49ers.
Yeah, again, I will take the free pick with the Chiefs. That
I do
I
that
can't.
every
I
week.
would love to go back and count how many times I've gained an edge on you just by taking the Chiefs when you don't, because it's got to be
I
like an
just
80% clip of like, oh, you know what, they're gonna win 75% of their games, so might as well.
I think I just enjoy being like I called the upset, even if it means I got it wrong the 10 other times picking against them. But yeah,
All right, this pick is subject to change based on how tonight goes, but Jets go to Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football.
Steelers.
I will also be picking the Steelers, but subject to change if the Jets look phenomenal tonight. I might actually change that. All right, Ravens go to the Buccaneers.
Buccaneers.
All right. Picking the Ravens. Not really thinking twice. Chargers go to the Cardinals. Doubleheader
Card
on Monday night again.
yeah, I'll
All
go
right.
with Cardinals.
I'm taking the Chargers. That was the best they've looked all year. And I know they didn't finish the game, but they looked
Yeah,
good. All right, so that gives us
Monday Night Man.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different picks. So pretty average week on that. 15 total games next week. I might have to double check that I didn't miss one, but through 6 weeks, I am 56 and 35. You are 50 and 41,
Not
depending
bad.
depending on tonight. Um, yeah, it's been a good week. 11 and 2, and one of them is the Packers because I don't pick them. Pretty satisfied with that. I did have a revelation. I was like, I can't like middle of the everything was going well. I was like middle of the day. I'm like, man, I can't ever have a perfect week if the Packers are gonna win. This isn't good. And I was like, I guess I got to do what I got to do. But all right.
Again.
As always, thanks for listening, guys. We'll be sure to get this episode. We've had some technical difficulties with the RSS feed and getting the podcast video set up, but we're working on that, getting that fixed. Any closing thoughts before we pivot? Remember next week, half season
Uh,
awards.
yeah, closing thoughts. Stooge of the day. Just saw an alert for Nick Sirianni issuing an apology to fans for yelling at them, at his own fans. Um, yeah, I can't wait to hear what comes out when they're like the dysfunctional relationship between him and Hurts. I guarantee you, it's just all on Nick Sirianni's end because he just seems like a hard guy to work with. Um, but yeah, if the Eagles are bad again this year, he's got to get cut loose. Like he's probably already on the hot seat. I hope
Roll the tape. I
roll the
think
tape.
I think Nick Sirianni will have a 10-year tenure in Philadelphia.
Who said that?
I believe it says Chen on October 16th, 2023.
Oof, over a year ago too.
Ay, ay,
That's
ay.
yeah, I'll have to sell that one. None of the whenever the next episode of
Yeah.
that comes out.
Yeah.
Gee,
Um, just giving you a hard time. But as always, thanks for listening, guys. Be sure to check us out on TikTok and Twitter. We'll be back next Monday with our Week 7 recap and half season award show, as well as Week 8 preview.